This is going to be taking a look at Fenris as the primary DPS for Light Expedition, which was mentioned to me by somebody in my comments. And for my testing, which I could only test Sirmia and Fenris, because on this account it's my ult, I don't have that many units. But with this specific setup, Fenris did outdamage Sirmia by a pretty considerable amount, so I would say he's probably the best DPS for this Light Expedition now, because Sirmia was the previous best DPS. I'm not sure how dependent it is on Camilla being here, because Fenris very much needs to be dual attacking to get more fighting spirit to actually use S3. If you're using Cerise, I'm not sure if his performance would go down, though you would get a lot more debuff consistency there. And then, besides Fenris and Sirmia, you can also use Charles, who I have uploaded, and also Fene, who I have uploaded. Probably it goes Fenris, then Sirmia, then Charles, then Fene. I'm just not sure how reliant Fenris is on having a dual attacker. For here, either Camilla or Cerise. I think you definitely want a dual attacker of some sort if you're using Fenris. And for your final slot, Verdant Adin or Zealot Carmine Rose. You can also use Chloe if you have Cerise here. You just need some better debuff consistency if you're using Chloe, because Chloe only really provides Death Break and damage. But anyways, that is it for the unit choices and all of the other stuff. And now we can take a look at their stats. So starting off with Brieg, and we'll mention I'm missing a bit of damage from not having his S1 and S3 fully enhanced. I probably should do that eventually. But you're going to want 85 crit chance. I'm missing a bit of crit chance, yes, just 1%. And also 35 effectiveness as your minimums. After that, you just want a good amount of speed with a bunch of bulk. Should ideally be on pen set, so I'm also missing damage there. And have his artifact be Steadfast Gatekeeper is generally the one that he uses. I think actually a slightly slower would be nice. I would lower him to 215 if I could. This is just for speed tuning purposes, but not really a huge deal. Next up, let's take a look at Verdant Adin, and the first thing we should talk about with Verdant Adin is in her skill tree. She gives 7% crit chance to all allies. This does fix my speed issue on Brieg. However, on other expeditions where I don't have Verdant Adin, of course Brieg would be missing some crit chance. But for Verdant Adin herself, since she has the skill tree rune, she only needs 93 crit chance, and we still need 85 effectiveness. Rest of the stats going into speed, and then damage. You could give her a little bit of bulk if you're finding yourself struggling to survive after the boss does S3 into S1. And then for her artifact, I like Elias Knife because the boss is pretty much always not going to be at full HP. And something like Alabastron also works pretty well, especially if you find yourself needing the extra effectiveness. Next up is Camilla. For Camilla, again, 100% crit chance for her, but I have Adin, so I can go down to 93 with 85 effectiveness. Rest of your stats going into speed and then damage. Same thing with Adin, if you find yourself needing a bit of extra bulk, you can do that. I would be a bit more careful with your Camilla speed though, just because if you use S2 and immediately get stripped, your Camilla is going to be pretty useless for a couple of turns, so try to make sure you stay around, I would say 210 is a good range, just because that's the range where she's going to be able to use S2 and get rid of the attack buff pretty easily. A little bit faster might work, a little bit slower. You can see how your timings work in the fight. Also, ideally, I should be on pen set for Camilla. Same thing for Adin, really. It's just I don't have pen sets with effectiveness, or really speed set gear with effectiveness. There's a reason both these units are exactly 85 effectiveness. For artifact, any damage boosting artifact is ideal. Something like Merciless Glutton or a Little Queen's Huge Crown. It's worth noting that Strike of Aspiration and Benimaru's Tachi don't work here. The attack buff won't apply to her due to the isolation effect. Lastly is Fenris, who is just a basic full damage build destruction pen set. Crit chance, because I have Adin, I can go down to 93. You should be at 100 if you don't have her. And this is actually one reason that Adin works out pretty nicely, just because this way you don't have to build that much extra crit chance here, compared to his normal build for Ice Expedition. For his artifact, I don't have a ton, so I'm just using Symbol just for the damage boost. Any damage boosting artifact works, though the problem is you don't have that many choices for Rangers. I would say it's probably Dux Noctis or Symbol of Unity, Victorious Flag, and there's also Frantic Flight if you pick that up. I also don't have his S2 enhanced because I think he doesn't get activated here because he gets sealed, but even in Ice Expedition, I don't think this does enough damage to really warrant it. So that is it for everyone's stats, and now let's take a look at our run.
정령왕 힘은 어리석은 탐욕을 위해 해풀잡이입니다.
차근차근 밟아주지. 내가 지켜줄 테니 전진해라. 피할 수 없을까? 기회다. 그러자.
공격하라.
여기라고.
무의미한 타락을 거듭할 수. 네 가치는 사라질 뿐이다.
몰아붙여라. 이쪽인가?
진심을 다해야 이기겠지.
이 일격에 내 의지를 쏟아붓겠어. 들척대지 말고 이제 그만 쓰러져. 두려워하지 마라. 허점 투성.
주제 모르는 자의 자만에 가소는 뿐이다.
바람을 가르듯. 빈틈이다. 어렵다고.
무의미한 타락을 거듭할 수. 네 가치는 사라질 뿐이다.
마지막 한 발까지 포기하지 않을 거야.
때가 되었다.
기회다. 어딨어? 각오하라고. 필살의 일격이니까.
어리석은 탐욕을 위해 해풀잡이입니다.
다음 공격을 준비해라. 우리에게 불가능이란 없다. 꽤 아플 거야.
무의미한 타락을 거듭할 수. 네 가치는 사라질 뿐이다.
이 작은 화살빛이 전부 꿰뚫을 때까지 몰아붙여라. 아깝다고.
진심을 다해야 이기겠지. 진격.
이쪽인가? 어디 보는 거야? 여기라고. 여기. 기회다. 아깝다고.
주제 모르는 자의 자만에 가소는 뿐이다.
이 일격에 내 의지를 쏟아붓겠어. 피할 수 없을까? 두려워하지 마라. 허점 투성. 여기. 나만 믿어.
정령왕 힘은 어리석은 탐욕을 위해 해풀잡이입니다.
빈틈이다. 어딨어? 마지막 한 발까지 포기하지 않을 거야. 들척대지 말고 이제 그만 쓰러져.
무의미한 타락을 거듭할 수. 네 가치는 사라질 뿐이다.
기회다. 이쪽인가? 바람을 가르듯.
So that is it for the run. I would say the damage here is a bit lower than you would expect just because worst gear, my Fenris artifact is only plus 15, no pen set on my Adin and also my Camilla, so definitely much lower damage than my main account. But Fenris' damage is really good. Being able to one-shot at all with this kind of gear was a pretty big surprise. And definitely with Fenris' buffs, The S1 Fighting Spirit gain helps him a lot here, otherwise he would not be able to S3 nearly as much. But that is it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.